Good evening. Thanks for joining us on 7Edition. I'm Nakia Basharuddin and these are your top stories. Perikatan National Government is committed in solving the rakyat's problems, says PM. 345 kilograms of ganja seized in Pulau Pinang. And Russia to supply COVID-19 drug to 17 more countries. Welcome. The Prime Minister today stressed that the Perikatan National Government is a caring government that finds ways to solve the people's problems. Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said since he took helm of the government, he gives extra care to the aspects of the people's welfare and prosperity because it is the duty of a responsible government to do so.
Untuk program kita prihatin kerana kerajaan Perikatan Nasional adalah kerajaan yang prihatin rakyat. We care for you. This is the government that cares for you all the time. Kita sediakan satu lagi tambahan untuk membantu lagi rakyat-rakyat kita yang terutama di bawah dan pastinya hampir sebahagian besar daripada petani, peladang, nelayan akan nanti dapat menerima bantuan-bantuan tambahan RM1,000, RM600, RM300. Yang bujang-bujang pun yang belum kahwin pun kita bagi peruntukan untuk menyara keluarga, termasuk belia-belia kita yang ada di sini.
Tan Sri Muhyiddin was speaking at a Meet the People session in Baluran, Sabah. Also present were Baluran MP Datuk Sri Ronald Kiandi and Barisan Nasional candidate for the Labuk constituency, Samad Jambri. In his speech, Tan Sri Muhyiddin also urged the people of Sabah, especially voters who will come out to fulfill this responsibility this Saturday, to give the parties under the Gabungan Rakyat Sabah, GRS, an opportunity to administer the state. The Prime Minister said the move is to ensure that the land below the wind continues to progress and is not left behind.
Jadi sebab itu saya rayu untuk tujuan sedara, bukan untuk saya. Saya tidak kaya tapi saya mungkin boleh hidup lebih baik sedikit. Tapi untuk saudara yang masih di bawah, bersama-sama saya pakai topi ini nak beritahu saya Perikatan Nasional. Yang pakai baju-baju biru itu Perikatan Nasional. Calon kita juga Perikatan Nasional. Ronald Kiandi pun Perikatan Nasional. Yang tidak pakai baju biru pun semuanya Perikatan Nasional, Barisan Nasional. What's wrong?
And due to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Prime Minister said more assistance should be channeled to the people of Sabah from the federal government.
Sewajarnya dalam keadaan yang amat luar biasa dan sukar ini, gabungan kekuatan kerajaan persekutuan yang saya pimpin, kalaulah negeri ini sama-sama sehaluan dan sekapal, sehati dan sejiwa dengan saya, pastinya rakyat Sabah akan lebih terbela. Itu mantik dan logiknya. Bukan bermakna kalau Sabah di bawah pembangkang saya tidak bantu. Itu zalim namanya. Saya bantu setakat yang wajib saya bantu. Yang sunat dan harus saya tak payah bantu. Betul. Tapi saya tidak mau menzalimi rakyat kita, mereka susah.
He added that special initiatives and assistance under the 10 billion ringgit Bantuan Prihatin 2.0 announced yesterday showed that the federal government always responded to the hardships faced by the people.
Perubahan senario politik. mandat dipertaruhkan. Kini kuasa rakyat dikembalikan. Siapa peneraju baru mandat Sabah?
Semuanya bakal terjawab
Sabtu, 26 September 2020.
6 petang hanya di TV3.
Foreigners entering the country from all international entry points will have to pay the full cost of their 14-day mandatory quarantine effective today. As for Malaysians, the government has decided to maintain the subsidy for the cost of quarantine. Senior Minister for Security, Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, in a statement today said non-citizens will have to pay the full charges of 4,700 ringgit, which consists of 2,600 ringgit for the operation's fixed charges and 2,100 ringgit for the cost of accommodation. The second and third individuals sharing the room with the first individual will also be charged 700 ringgit and free for children under the age of 6. For Malaysians, they will only need to pay the accommodation costs, while the operating costs will be borne by the government. A total of 8,005 individuals are currently undergoing mandatory quarantine, housed at 67 hotels and 8 other premises, including public training institutes and private higher education institutions. Meanwhile, 137 individuals were detained for violating the Recovery Movement Control Order, RMCO, yesterday, of which 111 were issued compounds. Among them were 14 individuals suspected to be involved in prostitution. 63 of the 71 new COVID-19 cases reported today were from Sabah. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said no new deaths or clusters have been reported in the last 24 hours. In a statement this evening, he said of the new cases, 69 were locally transmitted cases, with 43 of them being Malaysians. With no fatalities reported, the COVID-19 death toll in the country remains at 133. Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham also stated that 6 were in intensive care unit, with 2 needing respiratory assistance. He also reported that no emergence of new clusters today. Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham also said that all individuals who have been to or were from areas designated as red zones must undergo COVID-19 testing if they display symptoms of infection. The Health DG also said that all others were strongly encouraged to have themselves tested at the nearest public health facility, even if they were not symptomatic. A bid by a drug syndicate to hide drugs inside a parked van to avoid detection failed after police discovered the secret stash of ganja slabs worth 880,000 ringgit. 2 members of the syndicate were also arrested in the operation in Pulau Pinang on Monday. Police said the first suspect, a 27-year-old man, was nabbed near Sungai Dua Toll Plaza in Tasik Gelugo at 9:45 a.m. Authorities were forced to open fire at the suspect's vehicle as he refused to pull over when told to stop by police. This led police to another location in Butterworth, where they found the ganja slabs weighing 345 kilograms inside a Daihatsu Grand Max. It was believed that the drugs were smuggled into the state from a neighboring country to be sold locally. Following the seizure, police arrested the second suspect, age 33, also in Butterworth yesterday. Police also seized 3 vehicles valued at 140,000 ringgit and were on the hunt for the remaining members of the syndicate. The 2 suspects detained have been remanded for further investigations. And elsewhere in Kedah, police smashed another drug trafficking syndicate with the arrest of 11 people aged between 13 and 57 during a raid at a warehouse in Sungai Lalang, Kuala Muda on Tuesday. In the 8:45 p.m. operation, authorities also seized 2.7 kilograms of heroin worth 136,000 ringgit found inside a car in the warehouse used as a front for the syndicate's illicit activities. Kuala Muda District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Azli Abu Shah said one of the suspects was a 38-year-old former convict, believed to be the syndicate's mastermind, while some of the detainees were the man's family members. The main suspect, linked to Gang 35, was previously detained over a murder case in 2014, before he was released from prison about 3 years ago.
So, main tenggo ni, suspek utama berdasarkan risikan memang sebelum ni pun aktif dalam pengedaran dadah lah. Jadi bila dia dalam penjara ni terhenti sebentar dia punya aktiviti dan kita percaya sebaik dia dibebaskan dia bergiat aktif semula. Ini dibuktikan dengan rampasan ya sebanyak 2.7 kilo tadi heroin.
Police also seized some jewelry, a car and cash amounting to 2,100 ringgit. The drugs were meant to be distributed in Sungai Lalang and Gurun. All the suspects, including 3 women and 2 teenage girls, have been remanded until Tuesday to facilitate investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act. In Pulau Pinang, the High Court today sentenced a couple to death for the murder of a 5-year-old boy 6 years ago. Judicial Commissioner Ahmad Shahrir Muhammad Saleh found 30-year-old R. Saravanan Kumar and 36-year-old T. Gayatri guilty of murdering the woman's son back in 2014. Ahmad Shahrir said the prosecution had proven the case beyond any reasonable doubt. When delivering his judgment, he said the first accused, Saravanan's alibi, to prove that he was not at the scene of the crime, was not admissible in court in the absence of a written witness statement. He also found the second accused, Gayatri, who is the mother of the child, did not act like any mother would if they had witnessed their child being killed. He said that Gayatri was left alone at home for 4 hours and did not call for help after the first accused wrapped the deceased in a blanket and left the house with the body. He said Gayatri had even cleaned the blood from the bathroom floor after witnessing her child being killed, and added that no reasonable person would do what the accused did. Saravanan and Gayatri were jointly charged with the murder of S. Kaviarasan, who was 5 at the time, in September 2014 at a house in Taman Keladi in Kulim, Kedah. Kaviarasan's body was found wrapped in a blanket and dumped at an oil palm estate in Bukit Tengah, Butterworth. After the break, South Korean official shot dead by soldiers from North Korea. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Police will be calling Parti Warisan Sabah leader Datuk Muhammadin Ketapi to record his statement over his alleged insulting remarks on the Lahad Datu incident. Bukit Aman CID Deputy Director of Investigation and Legal, DCP Mior Farid Al-Athrash Wahid, said the statement recording process is likely to take place after the Sabah state election. He said the statement recording process will be carried out by the Bukit Aman Classified Criminal Investigation Unit. The case was being investigated under the Penal Code and the Communications and Multimedia Act. Police would also summon several individuals to facilitate investigation into the case. Police yesterday said 72 reports have been lodged against Datuk Muhammadin, and police had opened an investigation paper on the case. Datuk Sri Ahmad Maslan today withdrew his appeal against a Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court decision in dismissing his application to drop the money laundering and giving false statement charges made against him. Judicial Commissioner Datuk Muhammad Jamil Hussein withdrew the appeal after Datuk Sri Ahmad's lawyer Atika Naziha Azmi told the court that the notice to withdraw the appeal was filed last August 3rd. Deputy Public Prosecutor Mahadi Abdul Jumaat confirmed the matter and told the court that the prosecution did not object to it. Last August 14th, the Kuala Lumpur High Court dismissed an application for a revision of a lower court's decision in dismissing his application for the court to drop the charges against him. Judicial Commissioner Dato' Aslam Zainuddin dismissed the application on the grounds that there was no mistake by the Sessions Court in dismissing the Pontian Member of Parliament's application to quash the charges against him. Dato' Sri Ahmad was charged with money laundering by not stating his real income on the 2 million ringgit he received from former Prime Minister Dato' Sri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak in the income tax return form for assessment year 2013. He was charged under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001, which provides a maximum fine of 5 million ringgit or imprisonment for up to 5 years or both if found guilty. The other charge was for giving false statements to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, over the issue. The charge, framed under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001, provides a maximum fine of 3 million ringgit or imprisonment for up to 5 years or both if found guilty. Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund and its partner Chemra will now supply the COVID-19 drug Avifavir to 17 additional countries. The Russian Direct Investment Fund, RDIF, said on Thursday that the drug has already gained approval from its health ministry and is ready for distribution. Developed in Japan, the drug has already proven its efficiency in clinical trials in both Japan and Russia. Avifavir has since been delivered to Belarus, Bolivia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. It will now be sent to additional countries, including Saudi Arabia, Serbia, Slovakia, South Africa, the UAE and various countries in Southern America. RDIF say that the drug is 3 to 4 times cheaper than remdesivir, another COVID-19 treatment. Last week, Russia approved R-Pharm's coronavirus treatment for outpatients with mild to moderate COVID-19 infections. The company said the antiviral drug could be rolled out to pharmacies in the country as soon as this week. Russia is pushing hard to take a global lead in the race against the virus and has clinched several international deals for supplies of its Sputnik V vaccine. Meanwhile, Indonesia reported on Thursday its biggest daily rise of coronavirus infections, with 4,634 new cases, bringing the total number to 262,022 cases. The country's health ministry reported it was the second day in a row posting a record increase, while the data added 128 deaths, bringing the total to 10,105. Police officers in Indonesia have begun carrying out a security check in the city of Depok to help curb the spread of the COVID-19. Health checkpoints have been set up to ensure that the public follow standard operating procedures, such as wearing face masks and physical distancing. Cinema halls in the Indian city of Kolkata on Thursday operated as COVID-19 rapid detection centers as the number of daily cases in the country continued to rise. Patients were escorted into the halls by medical staff in personal protective equipment before being administered with a nasal swab test. The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country rose to 5.7 million, with over 86,000 new cases reported in the last 24 hours. India still remains the second country in the world with most cases, recording an additional 1,129 deaths, bringing the total death tally to 91,173. France's health minister Olivier Véran announced the closure of all restaurants and bars in Marseille and Guadeloupe, alongside restrictions across a dozen other cities to stem the resurgent spread of the virus. In enhanced alert zones, which include Paris, Bordeaux, Lyon and Nice, meetings in public places will be limited to 10 people and bars will have to close at 10 p.m. starting Monday. With over 31,400 confirmed virus-related deaths, France has the third highest death toll in Europe after Britain and Italy. News from the foreign front now. North Korean soldiers shot dead a South Korean government official before cremating the body over coronavirus fears. It was reported that the 47-year-old official was aboard a government vessel that was checking on potential unauthorized fishing near a South Korean border island. Colleagues noticed the man was missing at lunchtime and found only his shoes still on the vessel, prompting a wide-scale search. It was reported that the man was located by North Korean forces and questioned from a boat by officials wearing protective equipment. South Korea's defense ministry stated that the man was shot dead in the water before soldiers poured oil over his body and burnt it. The country has strongly denounced North Korea for the atrocious act and urged it to punish those responsible. Coming up after the break, Patakor sealed their place in AFC. Malaysia attracted 64.8 billion ringgit worth of total investments in manufacturing, services and primary sectors in the first 6 months of this year, despite multiple headwinds on the global front. According to International Trade and Industry Ministry, these investments involved 1,725 projects and are set to create 37,110 job opportunities in Malaysia. Of the total investments approved, domestic direct investments accounted for 69.8%, while foreign direct investments made up the rest. Top 5 sources of FDI for the manufacturing, services and primary sectors were Singapore, Switzerland, China, the United States and Thailand. For approved projects by state, the 5 major states, namely Sabah, Selangor, Pulau Pinang, Kuala Lumpur and Johor, contributed 47.1 billion ringgit or 72.6% to the total approved investments for the period. For the period under review, the manufacturing sector attracted the largest portion of approved investments, contributing more than half, 55.1%, followed by the services sector and the primary sector. Tesla, Volvo, Ford and Mercedes-Benz have filed lawsuits against the Trump administration, aiming to end what Elon Musk's electric car manufacturer called unlawful tariffs imposed on certain parts imported from China. The lawsuits filed in New York this week target the 25% tariffs imposed by the U.S. Trade Representative on a list of products, including spare parts such as terminals. Tesla's filing to the Court of International Trade said the levies were arbitrary, capricious, and an abuse of discretion. The suit names the U.S. Trade Representative, Robert Lighthizer, as a defendant. His office last year turned down Tesla's request to be exempted from tariffs on computer and display screens imported from China that it uses in its Model 3 electric car. The company, which was funded by Elon Musk, said it would be harmed by having to pay higher costs for components.